The crowds just keep getting bigger, and it's not just people anymore. It's an endless flood of data, information, noise. It's completely overwhelming your life. Because of this, you can't figure out the truth about anything. The actual facts, they're lost in the crowd, buried under notifications, opinions, hot takes, breaking news, trending topics, viral content. Everything feels urgent. Nothing feels true. Sometimes, it feels like there's nothing left in this world but crowds. And the worst part? The crowd isn't just outside anymore. It's inside your head. Today, we're breaking down how the external crowd becomes the internal one, and what that's doing to your mind. Let's start with what's happening outside. The world has always had crowds, but something changed. Technology turned the crowd infinite. You used to interact with maybe 150 people in your lifetime. Dunbar's number, the maximum stable social connections a human brain can maintain. Now, you interact with thousands, through screens, through feeds, through comments. Every day you're exposed to more information than your ancestors processed in a lifetime. And your brain wasn't built for this. It wasn't designed to handle infinite input. So it's drowning. You scroll, 100 opinions, 1,000 perspectives, 10,000 pieces of data. None of it connects. None of it matters. But all of it demands your attention. And you can't look away, because the algorithm knows engagement beats truth. Outrage beats nuance. The crowd beats the individual. So the crowd keeps growing, and you keep consuming. Here's what happens when the crowd gets too big. Truth becomes impossible to find. Not because truth doesn't exist, but because it's buried. 10 people say one thing, 100 say the opposite, 1,000 say something else entirely. Who's right? You don't know. So you pick the loudest voice, or the most popular opinion, or the one that confirms what you already believe. This isn't your fault. It's how crowds work. In a crowd, truth isn't determined by facts. It's determined by volume. The loudest voice wins. The most repeated idea becomes real, even if it's wrong, even if it's destructive. The crowd doesn't care. The crowd just amplifies. And you're stuck trying to find signal in the noise. But the noise is all there is. Ancient texts compare the world to an ocean. If you stand on one shore, you can't see the other side. You watch one wave roll in. It peaks, it crashes, it fades, then another wave comes. And another, and another. The ocean looks beautiful, endless, powerful, but you can't drink the water. No matter how much surrounds you, it won't satisfy your thirst. This crowded world is exactly like that. Information everywhere, but none of it nourishes you. Content everywhere, but none of it fulfills you. Connections everywhere, but none of them feel real. You're surrounded by an ocean of input, and you're dying of thirst for meaning. Now here's where it gets dangerous. The external crowd doesn't stay external. Slowly, this crowd mentality starts to creep inside you. You consume the crowd. Then you become the crowd. Every opinion you read becomes a voice in your head. Every argument you see becomes an internal debate. Every notification becomes a demand for your attention. And suddenly, your mind isn't yours anymore. It's occupied by 1,000 competing thoughts, 100 conflicting beliefs, 10 different versions of who you should be. This is what information overload actually does. It doesn't just overwhelm your schedule. It colonizes your mind. The crowd builds inside you, and once it's there, it's loud, restless, chaotic. You can't think clearly because there's too much noise. A crowded mind makes you restless. You can't focus because 10 thoughts are competing for attention. You can't decide because every option has a voice arguing for it. You can't rest because even when you're alone, the crowd is still there, commenting, judging, demanding. This is why you feel exhausted even when you didn't do anything. It's not physical tiredness, it's mental. Your brain is running 100 tabs, processing infinite inputs, trying to make sense of chaos that can't be organized, and it's failing. Because the human mind wasn't designed to hold crowds. It was designed for clarity, for depth, for focus. But you've traded all of that for breadth, for variety, for endless stimulation. And now you're stuck with a mind that never shuts up. A crowded mind throws you completely off balance. When your mind is clear, you can think, you can feel, you can choose. But when it's crowded, you're just reacting. Someone says something online, the crowd in your head responds before you do. You see a headline. The internal voices start debating before you've even read the article. You try to make a decision, but 50 opinions are shouting at once. So you freeze. Or you pick randomly, or you do what the loudest voice says. This isn't living, it's being lived. By the crowd. The external crowd programs the internal one, and the internal one controls you. You think you're thinking, but you're not. You're echoing, repeating, performing. The crowd doesn't let you think for yourself. It thinks for you. Here's something most people don't realize. A crowd has no actual feelings. It's just noise. A single person can feel. They can empathize. They can connect. But a crowd, A crowd only amplifies. It doesn't care. It doesn't think. It doesn't feel. It just reacts. This is why mob mentality is so dangerous. Individually, people are reasonable. In a crowd, they're unpredictable, violent, irrational. The same thing happens in your mind. Individual thoughts can be useful, but when they crowd together, they lose meaning. They just become noise, chaos, static. And static doesn't serve you. It just exhausts you. So whether the crowd is outside or inside, you have to keep it in check. Let's start with the external crowd. First, limit your inputs. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to read every opinion. You don't need to stay updated on every story. Most of it doesn't matter. Most of it won't affect your life. Most of it is designed to steal your attention, not inform you. So cut it. Unfollow. Unsubscribe. Delete apps. Curate ruthlessly. If it doesn't add value, remove it. Your attention is finite. Protect it. Second, choose depth over breadth. Instead of skimming 100 articles, read one deeply. Instead of following 1,000 people, connect with 10 meaningfully. Instead of consuming everything, choose deliberately. Quality beats quantity. Always. Third, create boundaries. Set times when you engage with the crowd, and times when you don't. No phones in the morning. No scrolling before bed. No news during meals. Build walls around your attention. Because if you don't, the crowd will take it all. Now, the internal crowd. This one's harder because it's already inside, but you can still manage it. First, notice the noise. Most of the time, you're not even aware the crowd is there. You just feel restless, distracted, overwhelmed, but you don't know why. So start noticing. When your mind is loud, pause. Ask, whose voice is this? Is this my thought? Or is this something I absorbed from the crowd? Most of the time, it's not yours. It's borrowed, repeated, echoed. And once you see that, it loses power. Second, create space, meditation, silence, walks without headphones, anything that lets the noise settle. Your mind needs space to process, to organize, to find clarity. But if you're constantly feeding it input, it never gets that chance. So give it space, let the crowd leave. Third, practice single tasking. One thing at a time, one thought at a time, one focus at a time. The crowd thrives on multitasking, on distraction, on chaos. Single tasking is the antidote. It forces your mind to focus, to engage deeply, to think clearly. And when you think clearly, the crowd fades. Here's the truth. You can't eliminate the crowd. It's part of the world now. But you can choose how much of it you let in. And you can absolutely clear it from your mind. Because your mind is yours. Not the algorithms, not the trending topics, not the infinite voices demanding your attention. Yours. But you have to reclaim it. Actively. Intentionally. Every single day. The crowd will keep pushing. The noise will keep coming. The flood of information won't stop. But you can. You can step back. You can turn it off. You can choose silence over noise, depth over breadth, clarity over chaos. And when you do, something shifts. The restlessness fades. The overwhelm subsides. The balance returns. Not because the world changed, but because you stopped letting it crowd your mind. The external crowd will always be there. But the internal crowd? That's optional. And it's time. The crowds just keep getting bigger, outside and inside, and they're drowning out everything that matters. Truth, peace, clarity, connection. But you're not powerless. You can limit the external crowd, curate your inputs, build boundaries, choose depth, and you can clear the internal crowd. Notice the noise, create space, single task, because a crowded mind makes you restless, throws you off balance, keeps you from thinking clearly. But a clear mind? That's freedom. That's power. That's yours. So stop feeding the crowd. Stop letting it occupy your mind. Stop letting noise replace thought. The ocean will always be there, endless, beautiful, undrinkable. But you don't have to drown in it. You can step back, find solid ground, and think for yourself again. If you're clearing the crowd from your mind, comment clear and subscribe if you're choosing clarity over chaos.